Hello and welcome to Fjord War, one of the two special fantasy scenarios that was included with the General and Field Marshal editions. The other one is Defender of the Reich, which we will cover in another video. This is a pretty fun, this is big fun scenario that includes a combination of air, sea and land operations. So you sort of touch upon all aspects of the game in a way that's very rare in the campaign. So that's a that's very fulfilling. I think it's a pretty fun scenario. I've loaded it up with default difficulty and no special settings. So let's quickly go through the briefing and note the start date is April 45. So advanced equipment is available. So here are some Russians or Soviets, um, and you can land here and here, the briefing says, and the briefing is right about that. And then you can make a two-pronged assault on this Soviet victory hex and take them out of the fight. And then we have the British on the other side of this big fjord. And these are elite troops, but well, the British have better fighters. For example, they have some jet fighters and they have a better navy, so you have to take that into account. But once you land, they are not as difficult a challenge as the Soviets are. The Soviets have more challenging terrain here. Heavy, thick forests, high mountains, lots of rugged terrain, defensive lines, that sort of thing, and IS-2s and 3s and what is it called? E-100, well, the big anti-tank gun, that sort of equipment. But even the best Soviet fighters aren't up to the task of fighting your air force. So where you really have to work to take care of the British, the Soviet air force goes down pretty easily. It's big, but squishy. So um, landings are only possible in one place. That is not strictly true. By one place, the map actually means this whole stretch here. So you could basically land here, or you could take the airfield and take this relatively open area here, which I think I would recommend this approach instead of this approach. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. But although you start with a big force, I would advise against sort of splitting up. You have 50 turns, so it's better to deal with the Soviets than redeploy your forces and deal with the British. Yes, high concentration of enemy ships. Yes, yes, we will sink the ships. So taking this one and the Soviet victory hex nets you 5,000 plus whatever you gain on turn-by-turn basis. It should be enough to let you swim in prestige, which will be nice, since you can then get the Carl Gustav and yeah, and the other super heavy artillery pieces. Now, after this, you have to go down here and take out the Americans. They are at the bottom here, and they have this island. You will have to land some paras, I guess, use ships to support it, and then take this supply airfield, which is very handy because then you can cycle back some of your air force, which will start out big, but as you whittle down the enemy air forces, you will have less and less use for your fighters, and you might as well recycle as many of them as possible. And then you can see this area here is it's quite difficult to take. Not impossible, but you see there are defensive line and urban terrain and difficult terrain and rivers and everything. So it's a tough nut to crack. On one hand, you could say that approaching from one side is easier because that lets you concentrate your firepower into one sector. I tried that. I tried coming in from this side, and it was difficult, but it was doable. Took some time, slowed me down quite a bit, but I got through. On the other hand, this area gets very congested. It's there isn't room for all your units anyway, so I would actually say that attacking from both sides is probably the better choice. I mean, you could have a lighter force in the west and a heavier force in the east, for example, but if you try to put your entire army through here and then just go to the city and up, you will just delay yourself because there isn't room for you to move. So you just have a big queue of tanks and whatever waiting in this area. Another thing to note that if you buy the big railway guns, you can start them here and then all the way down here, but they won't have gunnery range into the city because the railway ends here. Whereas if you put the railway gun here, you can get it all the way down here and pretty much cover the entire city. You could deploy that slow-moving one here. You can take a quick look at that. So you could put this one, because it's so slow, you could deploy this one here once you take that hex. And you could deploy the weaker of the two rail artillery. It's 6 slots, but it doesn't cost a lot of prestige. You could put this one out up here, but I would reserve that. Gustav. Oh, this is the Gustav. This is the Karl Gareta. Okay. I would put the Gustav here because that gives the best coverage. You also have some other prototype tanks. I mean, the mouse is very slow, but otherwise, I guess okay. And the E75 is just a better Tiger, but it's too easy to take chip damage. And if there were 15 parts, I would definitely be using it. But at 10 parts, chip, and then suddenly it's 8 or 7 strength point, and you have then it's not so fun. Then you might as well just have the Tiger, because the Tiger is it's not as good, but it is nearly as good. If you find yourself mid-game where you have air supremacy and have total control of the table, then you could maybe bring in these two. Otherwise, I wouldn't start with them. It's too easy to take damage, and then you are locked into having a weaker unit. Doesn't help that this has 32 hard attack defense if there are only 7 or 8 strength points of it. It's just a waste. We are quite a bit of prestige, but I don't know. Using elite replacement gets really costly very quickly, and there are minimal gains. Some of your planes might rack up some stars, especially the strategic bombers that we'll use to sink ships, but I don't really see the point. It's just one scenario, and isn't this supposed to be just 50 turns, or do I misremember, or did I manage to start this as major instead of colonel and get some extra turns? I think I'll need to check that. Yeah. So basically, I need to check that. So I think I'll save and just make sure I'm not giving myself 5 extra turns here. Yeah, I was right actually. For some insane reason, Major and Colonel have switched places, and if you do this to sort of choose Colonel and then click somewhere else, it jumps back to Major. So that's what happened. And although it says +3 turn, that's not strictly true. That's a string error. The game effect is +5 turns. So just have a vague memory from I played this. I only played it once before, and I fooled around a little bit with what units to take. But I thought I remembered it was 50 even, and not 55. Not that it matters because well, you have enough prestige anyway, and there are no combat bonuses. But let's play it on Colonel. I think that's an old bug. I remember that from the beta or very early release. So let's skip the briefing for now. So you start out with a force. You could scrap it entirely and just rebuild it, but it's more or less okay. We are going to get rid of a couple of tanks though, because we don't need this many tanks. So I'm just getting rid of these tanks. It's not that tanks aren't good, but you need the quality tanks. You can't go around running 4Js. Only the Tiger 2 matters, and then you could take some Panthers, sort of a filler. But you are meeting IS-2 and IS-3s, and what is this Panzer 4J going to do? Look angrily at the opposition? No. 25 hard attack. Yeah, you're gonna take so much damage. It's completely pointless. But okay, let us start by looking at our strategic. The Junker 88 is excellent. It has 16 naval attack. Nothing else that you have except this guy that has 18, which isn't that big a difference, and it costs one more slot. That's the deal breaker. So for 4 slots, we could have and then we might as well. This is already is, so we can get one there. And then I suggest we get. You could get 2 more overstrength Junkers, or you could get 1 overstrength and 2 cheapos. I want to clear out these enemy ships that are threatening me as quickly as possible. So I need a little bit of volume, but I also need the 15 strength to really do damage to the battleships. A 15 strength bomber, plus if I can get in a sub attack, that will nearly kill a battleship. And then I can just shell it once or something with one of my own battleships, and it will go down before it has the chance to shoot that turn. That is very beneficial. So that's my strategic bombers. The Heinkel 162. It's a great little fighter. It has good initiative, good attack, 22 defense, best defense I think in the game. But I actually prefer the 262. It can't land on carriers, but it has the highest attack rating, and it has a very decent defense. Nothing else there. The highest stats I have otherwise is 18-18 and slightly lower defense. And it's more or less the same. I don't remember the stats for the Allied jet fighters, but there are a couple of British jets and a couple of Americans, I believe. 2, 3, something like that. I don't know. The Soviets don't have any jets, so they aren't important. But I prefer this. It has slightly longer range, and I'm more concerned about killing the enemy than not taking any damage, because I will be massing my fighters, so I will be getting mass attack bonuses, so I will tend to shoot first, or at least the majority of my shots will go in first, because I have high base initiative, and I will be using mass attack, and the enemy has piston engine fighters with slightly lower initiative. And because of that, it's more important for me to do more damage when I shoot first than having defense, if you understand what I mean. The more I kill, the less shots get fired in return. So then the way I play, this is a better escort, maybe, unless it's escort defending a bomber against enemy jet fighters, because then they have such high attack that high defense that it's 20 attack is actually not quite good enough. So my preference is the Schwalbe, the Sparrow, or something like that. I also have these two carriers, and I can't base my 262s off carriers, so I have to find another solution for those. By the way, I suggest keeping at least one carrier alive, because that gives you a lot of flexibility driving around the coast, floating air bases for some extra fighters and some tactical bombers. An argument could be had for not saving both carriers, because two carriers, that's 20 slots, and you might want to use those slots for other things. I have you are probably not going to be able to save your entire fleet, but you might not want to save as much as you could. One carrier and a few battleships for shore bombardment. Ideally, that's all you would be left with at the end. So if you can get rid of the other things, that would be great. That would free up slots that you can use to buy other things. Because once the sea battle is over, you don't really want to like this Königsberg class. 6 slots of doing what? It has no. It has very weak attack stats. It's just a damage soak. This one is slightly better, but I would ideally get rid of that as well. But now we digress, because we were looking at the planes. So my other favorite is the Arrow, the 5. It's not as good as the 262, but it can land on carriers, and it is 1 slot less. It has great movement, so between the moving carrier and this, it's actually a pretty good, and it has actually very good hard attack ratings. I think I don't think you have nothing with hard attack like that on your fighters, so it can be used to do some little chip damage. So I'm just basically taking all my fighters here that are on the. This is just hopeless. 15 defense and 15 attack. It might as well not exist. It will do almost 0 damage to the opposition. So if you want to play around with some other things here, I would say this 262, the 162, and the 335. Those are the only two worth considering. This one has good attack, but it has 9 range, and there are a few air bases. Completely hopeless. This is just nothing. This has great range, and it has decent defense, but it can't hurt enemy fighters. This, of course, has great air attack, not so great range. I know it's cheap, it's just 3 slots, but so it's incredibly good for shooting down enemy fighters, and now suddenly I want to take it, but it has its initiative isn't very good. It has 5 initiative. Oh, suddenly I felt like experimenting. Did this one arrive with the latest DLC? Yes, I think it might have. Hopeless. But it really has 5 and 9. The enemy fighters would go after it right away and shoot it down in droves, and you can't really. This is not enough. We are going to go completely overboard on fighters. Now we have 3 fighters and 2 bombers in this area. And remember, our carriers will move right to begin with, so we will have a mass of fighters there. So the idea is to both to protect your own ships and completely overwhelm the Soviets as quickly as possible, while still having enough forces here to eventually sink the Royal Navy. That's the master plan. We will color code some of these. I don't usually overstrength much, but there are some extremely tough enemy tanks there, and having the ability to pop them with this 3. Why did I upgrade it? No, I'm just overstrengthening it. So I think that's a worthwhile investment. They are also one of the few, only 2 fighters bombers I have that can strike against submarines, which is another thing we should look at regarding our fleet, because there are subs in this area and you will need these and your destroyers, so don't get them all sunk to effectively deal with the enemy subs. And there will be more subs. I think there are a bunch of American subs down here, so even if you don't keep all your destroyers intact, don't just send them out to the slaughter. Keep at least 1 destroyer alive, or maybe 2, or it will be very hard to get rid of those enemy submarines. You can just slowly bomb them with your Henschels, sorry. So these Flak 40s, I don't think they are worth anything. This one is 1 slot less. So, because they have built-in transportation, they can move, embark, and move, which isn't so easy for things without built-in transportation. So this is my sink the enemy ships, then strip away entrenchment for ground units force. It only has entrenchment killer 2, but that's good enough. This is for popping tanks and subs initially, killing enemy fighters, and these are mostly for escorting my own stuff, including ships. So these strike and kill, these protect, more or less. Yes, only the Yacht Tiger is powerful enough to really matter. I know it's slow, but there's a huge difference here, especially in defense. Which means that if you take the Yacht Panther, the enemy tanks will... if you expose it, they will go after the Yacht Panther and it will take a lot of damage. You could situate it behind a line of your own tanks, but either those has to be Tiger 2s or regular Panthers, and then they will take damage. These can either stay the way they are for rapid fire, or they can go up to this one, which can, with 18, actually do some light damage against, well, not the IS-2 and that sort of thing, but sort of medium strength weak wolf. I don't know how useful that is, because there aren't a lot of those. Most of the tanks and stuff are super duper heavy, so but it has better air defense, so that's worth something as well. On the other hand, you can kind of want, if you don't have air support and protection, you kind of want them to go after your recon, because that's the least valuable unit, right? So maybe having a low air defense on a weak unit like that is actually worth something. And you can see their importance. That's the ground defense. That's the same. So because like 18, I mean 18, it's barely enough to. If if you compare to the Panther G, there's almost no chance of doing kill damage. You might do a little bit of suppression, and once you run into the good stuff, IS-2s, Tiger 2s equivalent, then it just blink, blink. It can do no damage. So what could you do with 18 heart attack? Well, you could sort of harm yourself. It's not so useful actually. So let's have a couple of Tiger 2s. And these can be, the Panther G is the best Panther we have, so none of the starting Panthers are worth to keep. They are the same slot cost, only worse. These I don't expect to do too much. They are sort of there for filler and a little flanking and a little bit of flexibility since they have the speed. These artillery pieces do nothing. I mean, they are semi-hard and everything and self-propelled, but they don't have very many shots. And they are useful against infantry for sure, but other cheaper artillery is good against infantry. 21 hard attack isn't going to hurt anyone. So I like this too, but its anti-tank dual purpose is useless now, so why not just go with the Brumbe? The Sturmtiger is even better, but it eats up a slot, so we're not going there. This is for bombing away entrenchment and protecting your infantry. I know this feels like a strange choice, but I love the Stug 3B, the Stug 42, this one, the Sturmtiger, I kind of feel it's too many slots. It's okay. And 6 slots seems like a lot for this, but remember it has rapid fire times 2, so it gets 20 shots. So basically it's as much firepower as these two combined, but it doesn't have, it only had entrenchment killer 2. So, but the combination of these two, or this one and a strategic bomber, and yeah, could do a lot of good. I'm gonna take myself one other tank. You could take the Panzer, but this one is cooler looking. It's just so neat for removing entrenched infantry, because flame tanks ignores entrenchment, right? So you can have a cool orange color. And these are big and menacing, so they can be blood red. And these, it's because I play zoomed out, right? Then it's much easier to know what's what if I color code it. Yeah, I'm not sure about anti-tank. Can be white. These can have this cool camo here. These can have this this camo. No. I just want things to be easily recognizable. No, that's a bad color because it's too close to the sea color. This one is pretty bright, so that's better. Yeah, okay, they can have some color these as well. Yeah, pretty good. Oh, these poor guys. But we still have slots left. And I need some more artillery, and it will be long-range artillery, and I will actually, instead of using this, which is fewer slots, I will use the one with the maximum hard attack. For this is enough to actually cause suppression damage to just about anything. Just gonna plop them down there. Do they need some fancy color as well? Why not? Everything else is color coded. So. Now it is probably time for some more infantry, which we will keep mostly cheap and cheerful. Gonna have me 3 of... No, not Fallschirm. Gebirgsjäger. I already have 4 paras, and I think they are actually quite useful in this scenario. These I will keep without transport, because once their job is done on the Soviet continent, I can load them up on transport planes and fly them to an airfield near where they need to be. I will also have just a single pioneer unit, and I think a couple of Volksgrenadiers. Oh, these are great. I mean, look at the stats. It's kind of sad because... no, not the yes, the Volksgrenadier. They have 13 attack each, and I have 6 close defense. Sort of have less defense than the Grenadier, but they can move faster. They count as light infantry. I have forced march, so everything is just better except regular defense and air defense. But of course, whenever I'm attacking suppressed targets, so this is infinitely better. And they do well in close terrain. That's pretty close to my total. Since I'm not going to be invading over there, I'm gonna undeploy all these guys and put them down over here. So we are going to send a couple of Jaegers over to the right, along with the Pioneer. Jaegers, and these 2 can start over here. And I have some slots left. I'm not sure this is needed, but I'll take 1 auxiliary anti-air, because initially the AI likes to sort of bomb you a little bit. And then we could have... no, I have to purchase them in 2 steps. Okay, my last one, and 1 of the same, only it's auxiliary. So we can deploy them here. And I always color my recons pink, because at some point I discovered that pink is the photo reconnaissance color. Very easy to tell apart. And that's my force. I'm pretty comfortable with it. I'm sure you could put this together in many ways, but sort of everything has a plan. Paras, their initial job is to take this area, take this airfield, so I can rebase some of my fighters, because eventually there will be a lot of jet fighters out of range, so I need to put them here. That is their task number 1. Then they will typically do a little fighting in this area. They did that the last time anyway. And then I can re-embark them and fly them to wherever I need to be. 1 place that has to be taken by paras is this island. So I will have 1 force land in this area and come around the flank. Meanwhile, the main force will land in this area and slowly make its way here. But the pressure from being attacked from 2 sides should be enough. And there will also be stuff happening in this area, but that's a secondary thingy. So the other infantry will go across here. That's one Jaegers and two Grenadiers, and of course these guys. I will also land with Tiger, some anti-tank, my flame tank, some artillery, some mountain here. Clear out. The rest will land here. So nothing goes down here. So deploying here in the start is no point. Meanwhile, I will try to preserve most of my fleet, but maybe try to lose some of it so I can free up the slots. Yeah, the naval units. You have 3 submarines. They are almost the same. This is slightly older and weaker. And for some reason, I think it moves slower, but I think that's just in my head. You had 3 destroyers. Try to save at least 1, preferably 2. Capital ships. You have 4 battleships. The H-class is the best, so keep those for shore bombardment. Keep those 2 if you want. They have 5 range. These other 2 I would suggest trying to get rid of. Try to get them sunk. If you could say get this sunk and this sunk, you have saved up 13 slots. If you can lose a carrier as well, that's 23. Drop a destroyer, that's 27. Maybe lose a sub, that's 30. 30 slots is enough to buy a lot of extra ground units. You could buy all the super heavy artillery, for example, even without dipping into here. When it comes to core slots, I hope to eventually get rid of all these fighters. It takes time because you have to fly in, and then you have to stand on the hex to get rid of it, and then you have to fly in another one the next turn, so it takes a while to cycle them. But this here is 42 slots, and if I can lose some of my ships, auxiliary ships, and cycle back these 6, then I'm mostly good. I don't need more units than that. I have 7,500 prestige. I will get 5 for this, 5 for this, and there is also a slow tickle of other prestige, so I have enough prestige. I don't take that much damage. Yes, you can also, once you take this supply, cycle away some units, like these anti-air units will probably not be relevant. After the initial landing and the slaughter of the enemy air force, you can usually switch them over to anti-tank mode and then just basically disband them here. That's just 9 slots, not huge, but I guess it's worth looking into. I decided to keep these as they are, haven't I? Yeah, for the rapid fire. I like rapid fire. You can always use more artillery and more engineers once you get down here. Of course you can. A couple of extra tanks. But you see you have room for this. The special artillery is like 20 slots. And you can free up 50 plus slots. So you can get everything you need. You can get more paratroopers and sort of blanket the entire area here with paras. Drop, 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 drop. Artillery. So many ways to do this. But this, I think, is looking good. Everything is set up, color coded. We have sort of a plan. We'll talk more about the plan later. But as you can see, once this area is taken, I will drive some of my stuff to ports, re-embark it. Other things will go back on planes, the light infantry, the mountain troops, and the paras. And the rest of my force will meanwhile move down here and sort of secure this river line, take the island. And once that's done, I hope to have the entire fjord and the skies cleared out. And then we will make a landing here with some of my existing troops, some troops that I have bought just recently. You have a supply hex here, so you can deploy and move and join your forces coming in from the sea here and from the air, and then we can make a landing here, supported by our battleships, and then we can move in, take these sacks, uh, deploy the super artillery, railway artillery, buy some more units, and then we can move down here. And move down here, and I guess around turn 30, something like that, I will have two massive forces arrayed here and here, and I will have plenty of bomber support, not so many fighters, just a handful. And I will have the remnants of my fleet, my battleships primarily, pounding away here, along with lots of artillery, plenty of infantry, and we will just swarm in and massacre the opposition. Uh, Last time I played this, I think I didn't finish until turn 47, 48, so that kind of a rushed feeling. But now that I have played it before, I think I have a more flexible plan. I spent a lot of time wandering down through this area and figuring out how to do the redeploy my troops for a landing here and taking this island. It was sort of confused, not confused, but I never played it before, so I didn't have a clear plan. Now I think I can do it slightly faster, but I don't think I can. I don't think we will finish until at least turn 40. There's no point rushing either. So, time to save and see you in turn 1. Turn 1. Um, with any Panzer Corps scenario, I would say that don't rush. Don't overextend. Always support your units with defensive fire, artillery, anti-tank, escort, anti-air, that sort of thing. It always pays off, especially on a big map like this with so much going on. It's usually not good to just spread out and try to accomplish too much in as short a time as possible. There is no bonus for finishing early. There's plenty of opportunity for making a bunch of mistakes that will cost you further down the line. Also, on such a large map with air, land, sea across multiple theaters. I mean, even landing here and here, that's two different operations. So you should try to narrow down your scope a little bit. Don't move one bomb, then go do something else. Try to have a structure to what you are doing. For example, it often pays to move your aircraft first and prioritize target and prioritize escorting and so forth. But if you move all your planes before you start moving your ships, you risk coming into the situation where you cannot cover your most valuable ships with fighters, for example. So you can't always say move air, then move sea, then move land. It's better to set yourself concrete, limited goals that you will sort of accomplish with one task force. I'll make some examples as we go, but you can see already I have deployed some units here that I wish to send out through this port to land and secure this objective. And some thought has gone into making sure that I have an annoying dog that's eating at my toes because she's bored. It's very tickly. Wait, wait, wait. Yes, am going to send these Jaegers, this, maybe an anti-air unit, the flame tank, this guy, and one anti-tank, um, recon, one of the Brumbers, and possibly I can't see where I put it. Uh, shouldn't there be? There it is, in the middle. I couldn't see it because it was in the middle. Okay, those go right into this. And I already told you about the paratroopers, and this is being played under the old paratrooper rules because that's what the scenario was designed for. It's definitely possible to do it with the new cannot move and drop rules, but there is it's not much of a difference really. Okay, so that was a lot of talk. The other group will go across using this port and land here. And when you try to cross the sea, it's not good to be shelled by enemy battleships and cruisers or bombed by naval bombers. So before we go across, we have to do something about that. So you won't immediately be rushing onto your boats. You'll use a couple of turns. I don't think it's smart to try to land much before turn 5, maybe. Although we'll see how things work out in practice. We can already see some of the enemy ships here. This is a battleship, a destroyer, a light cruiser. Light cruisers are like the worst. They have absolutely no meaningful role. They aren't flagships or anything of the sort. That's because I don't think really the ship models ship combat very well. This is a heavy cruiser. They have less range than battleships, so are easier to sink. Light cruisers are basically heavy cruisers. They have the same range, the same everything really, except they have weaker stats overall. So the Soviets have only a couple of destroyers and this light cruiser and something hidden in the fog here as well, I think. The Royal Navy will have plenty more down here, and you also have the US Navy further down, and sometimes they come creeping up to shell you. But these range 4 cruisers are actually a problem here because combined with battleships charging in, they can easily catch and destroy one of your carriers. But like we were talking about previously, that's not necessarily a problem. It gives you a little less flexibility than with basing, but you can base 7 planes aboard, and that should be enough. 4 fighters, 2 bombers, and 1 of the recons, for example. So that is enough, and it frees up 10 valuable slots. So, like I said, there is an argument to be made for just, oh, sorry, you sunk one of my carriers, but really, I'm not sorry. So, we will start by having a look in these areas. There's a second light cruiser, and there is a light cruiser. And this was a heavy cruiser. Okay. And then I think I will send out 1 bomber here to shell it. And then I have a submarine, which you do not want to put next to the destroyer because they are anti-sub units. So now it gets no retaliation. And this is a light cruiser, so it has 4 range. So if you just say move your battleship here, you can probably sink it. I will also be flying this one down here. And I will be taking my really want to be rid of this one because it's already starting here and I cannot get this cruiser really far enough away. And here we actually had an enemy sub be revealed. I think I'll use this one. Like I said, it can be used to. So now I'm bombing. Now I have to think. I have to set up escorts for this. But on the first turn, that's not going to be a problem. I don't see any enemy fighters, so I won't be shooting any of them down. I will just be moving in to. Okay, having a look around. And when you move your planes like this, try to keep in mind that one fighter can be used to escort multiple bombers. And also remember, these are completely expendable. You can just buy new ones. That's not a problem. Okay, here is revealed several interesting things. We have a battleship here that is fairly close to our lines. And we have a light cruiser that's not quite as threatening. But I think nevertheless that we will do this. And we had a sub here, which we will use our other headshot for. And then I have one sub. This one should have gone submerged, but I completely forgot that. So you can see between a 15 strength Junker and a sub, you can nearly wipe out one of the battleships in just one round. So we are moving here, and we are sinking that one. And it's worth it because now it will never get to fire. So we have not sacrificed 2 strength for 2. We have sacrificed 2 strength to remove it completely because of the single entity rule. It will be able to shoot back at full strength. Yes, that was actually a misplacement because I should have placed it there because then I could have escorted it more properly. So I will put my other guy here and just be rid of it. And I will put it there so I can escort it properly. Now time for some escorting. This one escorts all of those. This one escorts these 2. So now these guys are protected at least. These are protected. And this I would say is important to do, especially on that first turn before you have started to whittle down the enemy air force. Otherwise they will completely stomp you. So what else can I or should I do here now? We want to wipe out as many ships here as we possibly can. So I should have more battleships. This is a battleship. So if we move it there, we can shell that guy from afar. And this is the guy we want to lose, remember? This we also want to lose. But not necessarily right away. This we will move here. And this I think we will move here. And then we get a little nice coverage. This one gets to move as far away as possible. I mean, if you want to get rid of the carrier afterwards, you totally can do that. This one is protected by these fighters. No, no, I don't think that's will do that. Very confused there. So this fighter will cover this group. This is not a super fighter. This one will cover this group by staying here. This one will cover here. And then that actually leaves me with one fighter not, well, not needed. That's probably exaggerating, but so in theory I could put it here and start taking some oh, no, what did I do now? Why can't I undo? Did I undo something previously? I don't know. It's not important. I usually play with unlimited undo because once I start misclicking, the misclicking typically comes in clusters. It's not like one misclick each round. It's like 20 misclicks during that one confused turn. But anyway. So now everything is protected anyway, so it's not a problem. These can just hang out in the middle here. But we could use this plane for something. We could protect the most exposed unit here, which is this one. It is a very weaker defense, so we could do that. You can already see they will be swarming in here. And there comes a jet fighter actually. That's gonna hurt a lot. I'm gonna get shot down. You see now why we could not use anything weaker than these files. Okay, destroyer takes my port, that's not a problem. Shooting at my problem. It's not problematic to have it shot at, it's problematic at having it shot at by too many enemy units. You can see already 3 cruisers nearly sunk it. So if I had not killed the other units, we would have a problem now. So we can start by getting a new fighter. I think we will still need it. So I'm just gonna deploy it there and give it that nice white camouflage if I can find it again. Was that it? Yes. Okay. This one is already very weakened. Has no experience, so this will do. This one has also been pretty messed up, so I will heal that one as well. So you see, you don't have more planes than you need. Now I will try to get rid of some of these enemy ships. This should be able to kill that one. Ironically not. This one will definitely go after the battleship. This one will submerge. It will shoot. Where is my other sub? There it is. I feel like I've lost track of maybe a battleship. Yes. It's not an immediate threat, but I see no reason to why I should let it live. And my last big guy can take out this Leander class. Now it gets interesting. Unfortunately, these guys didn't take any damage, so there is very little use in trying to take them out. This one submerged, yes, and it can go over here. This file. So I will just keep it simple there. This one got to shoot without moving. No. I'll put it here instead. And it slips beneath the waves, as they say. This is kind of tempting, but without any escorts to it, then it will be problematic. It can move here and be protected that way. This one is protected, but it could move here. Submerge it and move. This can totally go here and try to sink this submarine. They will be protected by my this I will leave in the open for a bit. This one can go hang out under there. And just in case, I will move my handles in such a way that they cannot be so easily attacked. And looking around, I see that I have one unescorted guy here. And this is a destroyer. I think I want to lose that one. Maybe it will be shelled, maybe not. We'll see. Ah, here I have a... No, this is for this group. So I could have used one more. One more of these fighters. Now, this one isn't escorted. That is okay with me. I can retaliate with this one, and I can live with the loss. I have already taken steps to neutralize the enemy fleets, and the air forces are still strong, opposing air forces, but they are losing fighters fast here. Cannot do that thing where they murder my file so easily. Okay. This I of course forgot, but it's not a big problem. I'm not sure why it does that. Hey! Come on. Oh, they are hard hitting. This is... Oh, I forgot to move that one. Okay. This could be the end of it. No, it survived with one hull. One more will get it. And there it goes. Yeah, and it sunk. But like I said, that's not necessarily a bad option. What happened? Did it run into my submarine or something? No, the submarine is here. Not sure what happened there. Oh, it was an American. It snuck up through the fog of war here. Okay, but I think actually I am quite happy with the loss of that one carrier. So I'm gonna take a short break here. Okay, so I'm back. This can now be attacked by two submarines and one of my 15 strength bombers, so I don't think it will survive for very long. Let's start with the bomber. And that's definitely a kill. Okay, so I lost one 15 strength bomber, so now I have 4 bombers left. I could rebuy another 15 strength bomber, but at this point I don't think I need it. There's actually a town class. Do I have any healthy bombers? Yes. Now, these are the worst, but they are also the hardest hitting, so I really like to blink at them while they have somewhat less strength than that. Two of these won't be able to move because they're rebased, of course. So I just want to make sure I clear out this area. Next turn, I could do this. Yeah. Really? That was annoying. No. These I typically want to preserve. These two not as much. I also want to get rid of this heavy cruiser eventually. But I mean, I don't want to give it away. That would be dumb. No, I can actually send it there because this one protects. Huh. Good times. These will have to wait one more turn because I have no cover over here. These are safer next to the jet fighter. So, can I actually do something useful with my fighters here? I think I can, but look at the stats here. It's not easy. Also, I want to stay away from this guy because he's so annoying. So that's why I'm sending in these two. And I can't even take this one out. So my last one goes escorting. I wish when you clicked it, you could see sort of the area that it protected. It's not a big deal, but... Okay, that's turn 3 for me. Let's see what the AI does. And it, of course, bombs my... I couldn't quite think it. This I like. Haha, ambush. This is good, this is very good. This is the best that can happen. They attack and I get... Now I can try to take them out. 6, maybe 7 strength, that's not too bad. Did it shoot that? Did it shoot my battleship? Or one of my destroyers, maybe? Not quite, but a good start. Hmm. No, that was entirely the wrong order of operations. I'm not 100% sure he's out of fighters. He has this one, but I think that's the last one. Uh, he has one strategic bomber, so he could definitely hurt me over here. So I basically put some of my... Why can't I split this one? That's weird. Huh. I don't get that. Weird. Okay. I don't have any escort capacity, so I'll do this, and I'm gonna do a little scout tempt thing there. I couldn't split because I didn't have any more slots on the airfield left, of course. Ah, yeah, that was one way of getting rid of it. And it chooses to bomb my pioneers, that's okay. Ah, come on. You nasty bugger. should survive because he only has 2 jet fighters again, and none of his other fighters can touch me really. Nah, should be good. Bloop, bloop. Oh, he got +1 air defense. He actually got a medal. Wow. Interesting. Wait. This one needs to heal. You can see how slowly they get XP, so he will never. So, finally rid of one. Okay, that was. I could have bombed this as well. Can just get rid of that one. Now wait. So now my first task force is ashore and can now be supported. There are still, especially American strategic bombers that can reach really far here. So we can't just declare that everything is fine. See these two? They can get far out to sea. But I don't need to protect this really. And neither do I need to protect my heavy cruiser, so. But these two destroyers I want to keep for now. The next round, my main force here will go across the channel, but not this round. I think. Well, I could. They can do that. Okay, if I get bombed now, it's all on me. I feel like I've seen that before.